So you want to play Dead by Daylight, huh? Spooky stuff.
It's spooky.
Well, in this video, we'll cover everything you need to know to get started. This video is not meant as an exhaustive list. It's not an advanced guide, but this video will be more of a jumpstart guide in that it'll help you get into the game if you haven't played before, or maybe you just played an hour or two and you want to know what are the basics that help me get into the game. If you have any questions for me, come hang out with me on my live stream. I stream every Sunday through Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/drybear. Come hang out or ask me any questions that you have. So let's go. Dead by Daylight is an asymmetrical PvP game, which just means that the teams aren't even. One killer faces off against 4 survivors in a battle to the death. You'll all start in a map that has 2 exit gates that are powered down at the start. Generators spawn across the map, and survivors must power these back up in order to get the exit gates open to escape. The killer's job is to brutally cleave the survivors, put them on hooks, and prevent them from escaping. If you've seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you've already read the instruction manual. And you can actually play as some of your favorite horror film villains, like Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, or don a pighead mask like Amanda in the Saw movie. But let's start with survivor gameplay and give you everything you need to get started. You're in a team of 4. And you will need to work together to survive. Survivors that play selfishly will just end up losing more points in the end. There will be 7 generators on the map, 5 of which you need to fully repair in order to power the escape gates. On most maps, you can spot these generators easily by looking for light bulbs that hang above them. And if you're on a house map, you'll see blinking chandeliers inside the house. Repair the generators by holding your action button on the generator. Beware that periodically skill checks will appear on the screen. These will be preceded by a warning sound like this. Hitting the small white portion gives you a great success and will boost your progress. The hollow gray portion is a simple good check, while missing the white area altogether will result in a fail. Failing will revert the generator progress sum and alert the killer to your location. For most killers, as they get close to you, you will enter what's called their terror radius, and music and a heartbeat will start to play in your ears. The closer they are, the louder and more intense the music will be. Now, it's important to remember that the killer is actually in first person while you are in third person. So you're gonna wanna use this to your advantage. Crouch in grass patches and hide behind walls and use your camera to watch the killer's approach from behind the wall. Always try to keep your camera on the killer for as long as possible to watch their movements. If they go to wrap around an obstacle, you want to react to this properly by going the opposite way. Look for multicolored pallets around the level, as these are the easiest way to slow a killer's chase. You can throw down the pallet on top of a killer and this will stun them. You can also vault over windows and down pallets at 3 different speeds. A slow vault comes when walking and hitting the vault at an angle. A medium vault, however, is when you are running but don't hit the angle quite right. A fast vault is what you want when you're in a chase, and these come when you're running and you are lined up perfectly with the vault and press the button once. For me personally, I like to tell the difference based on what my feet do during the vault. A slow vault is pretty obvious in that you'll slowly crawl over the window or the pallet. A medium vault is when you are moving quickly but your feet still touch the window. And a fast vault I remember and recognize by when you slide across it without your feet touching it. Also keep in mind that medium and fast vaults will notify the killer of your location and are considered a fast movement. Now, around the map there will be what's called totems that the killer will use for various effects. If they are unlit, they are called dull totems, and if you ever see one lit up, it is a hex totem and should almost always be cleansed. If your skill checks on generators are red, this means the killer is using the ever common hex ruin, and you have to find the lit totem and cleanse it to get rid of the debuff. With Hex Ruin up, great skill checks will simply continue the progress of the generator. A good skill check will actually regress the generator's progress, and a fail is still a fail. Now, when you hit a good, it doesn't notify the killer of your location, but it does set the generator back a bit. This is actually a little bit of a noob trap ability because a lot of times players will just leave a generator, but the best way to deal with this is A, to find the totem quickly, or simply just power through it, pun intended. So you want to be moving the generator progress forward even though Hex Ruin is there, because you may not be able to find the totem right away. Now let's talk about what happens once the killer is chasing. You'll want to loop them around obstacles, preferably with at least one window and an unused pallet in the area. The better you get at this, the longer this chase will ensue, and at first it may feel like things are hopeless, but as you get to know the maps and the areas that you can use to juke the killer, you can actually keep chases going for minutes at a time. However, keep in mind that anytime you run, you will leave behind a trail of scratch marks that the killer can see for up to 10 seconds. So be careful that you're not running when the killer is not aware of your presence. Once 5 generators are powered, 2 exit gates will be activated, but they must be opened using the switch outside of them, which takes time. The exit gates are always at the edge of the map and can be spotted by their large framing and huge metal door. Once the gate is open, simply walk out to escape the trial. If the generators aren't finished, however, a hatch will open once 1 survivor is left remaining, so you're not stuck if you're by yourself and the gates aren't powered up yet. If you are by yourself and you're in this situation, the hatch does make an ambient humming sound, so you can find it that way. But wait! The true goal of a survivor is to get as many points as possible before the trial is over. It's not just about getting away. So rather than just doing generators and escaping by yourself, you'll want to look for opportunities to rescue hooked teammates or heal wounded allies. Everything you do in this game provides points, but rescuing teammates is actually one of the best and should be a top priority if you can actually manage it. Another tip, which is actually a personal pet peeve of mine, if you ever get downed into the dying state as a survivor, unless you're crawling to something of purpose like a hatch, or you're crawling over to a pallet so that someone can stun the killer when you get picked up, always recover your HP. You can actually get your HP all the way up to 98% so that someone can just walk by, tap you once, and instantly get you up. The people that crawl around a bunch without recovering are like one of the most annoying things to me. So make sure you're just getting that recovery up so when someone does take the time to come get you when the killer's nearby, it doesn't take forever. Now, both survivors and killers bring a loadout of 4 perks with them when they start the match. Here are some of the common killer perks to be aware of as a survivor. Barbecue and chili. When a survivor is hooked, all other survivors on the map are revealed to the killer for 4 seconds unless they are close to the killer or inside of a locker. So if you're across the map and the killer just hooked someone, just be aware that he may have just seen where you are. Hex Ruin we talked about earlier, but when the Hex totem is active, generator good skill checks roll back progress on generators. Hex No One Escapes Death, or commonly referred to by the community as NOED. Once all generators are powered, survivors suffer from the exposed status effect, which means that they will go down in one single shot. But enough survivor talk. Let's talk murder. The killer role is exhilarating once you figure it out. Here are the basics. Survivors take 2 basic hits before they go down. They transition from 3 states: healthy to injured to dying. Once a survivor is dying, you can pick them up from the ground and carry them to a hook. Survivors can be hooked 3 times maximum before they are instantly sacrificed and removed from the game. Once a survivor is injured, listen for whimpering sounds nearby. They will also leave a blood trail behind them. Scratch marks that survivors leave by running will fade over time. They last a total of 10 seconds, but start to fade immediately. So you can follow the path by watching which direction they are fading in, by which scratch marks are fresher than others. Your primary goal is actually to get survivors onto hooks, so don't give up chases too often, especially if you get a survivor in a wounded state. You also want to apply pressure on the entire map, not just one area. So make sure you're keeping survivors off of generators and keeping good control of the map. Another gotcha for early killer players is you don't really want to break pallets right away. Most often you want to go around the pallet unless the survivor forces you to break it, because it's a long animation. You'll get stuck in it and the survivor will actually get a great deal of distance between you once they see that you're breaking the pallet. The same thing goes for vaulting windows. Killers vault through windows pretty slowly on average, so you want to make sure that you are going around the wall instead of always following through on the vault if a survivor goes through the window. Here are some common survivor perks that you'll run into when you're playing killer. Dead Hard is a teachable perk by David that allows a survivor to make a quick dash when they're in an injured state. This dash has iframes, so if you swing at them while they're dashing, you will deal no damage. You can counter this pretty easily just by getting really close to them if you think they have Dead Hard, and then just doing a tap on the M1 rather than a lunge, because it'll just hit them before they can usually trigger the Dead Hard. Balanced Landing is a teachable perk by Nia that allows survivors to get a burst of speed when they come off of a ledge. So if you see a survivor leading you up to a staircase or a ledge, they may have this perk. Decisive Strike is a teachable perk by by Lori that allows survivors who have just recently been unhooked to get a skill check while you're holding them and actually stun you and get off your shoulder if you're carrying them to the hook. So be aware that if survivors have been hooked recently, they may have decisive strike. And a lot of counters for this is really just dropping them as soon as you pick them up, which makes them fail the skill check.
And that does it for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, always remember to subscribe, like, comment, you know the deal. And if you have any questions for me, come hang out with me on my live stream. I'm live every Sunday through Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you in the next one.